Hey, mamas, you are listening to the Motherhood is Ghetto podcast. We all know motherhood can be a beautiful thing, but girl, it can also be ghetto. Join me as we discuss some of the best and worst parts of being a mom raising kids, all while trying to figure out this thing called life. This ghetto is a safe space, mamas. So, welcome to the hood. Hey, mamas, welcome back to another episode of Motherhood is Ghetto. My name is Joy, and how y'all doing today? If you're doing all right today, say amen. Here we go. This is episode 2 for the month. Uh, in the last episode, I told you guys I had a goal to do 3 episodes this month, and the month ain't over yet, y'all. Um, I know I got like a week left to get out another episode, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna reach my goal. But I hope you guys are doing great today. So just a little bit about how my week has been going. I think overall, like I had a pretty good week. Um, I'm recording this on a Sunday, so you probably won't hear this until Monday. But so we're about to start a new week. Actually, my week has already started because I work my 9 to 5 on Sundays. So my week has kind of already started, but it's off to a good start, I guess. This week, like I've been doing like a lot of reflecting about what it is I really want to do, like my purpose, like what really motivates me, what makes me happy, what drives me and all that good stuff. And one thing that's been coming up for me like all week long, and like I've just been seeing it everywhere, I've been hearing about it, is fear. And I've been seeing things and listening to stories about people overcoming their fears, or just little quotes that come up and grab my attention here or there about you know uh overcoming your fears, conquering your fears, not letting fears get in the way of the life that you believe you're meant to live, and all that stuff like that. So today I want to talk about fears. I want to talk about fears as a mother, fears as a single mother, fears just as a woman in general. And I got a lot of fears. Like, I definitely have a lot of fears. I really do try not to let my fears get the best of me, but I feel like for the majority of my life, like my fears have really like run my life. Like I've lived my life based on my fears. So I want to talk a little bit about that, and I want to unpack that a little bit. But before I do, gotta pay the bills, y'all. If you have not already secured your one and only one of a kind copy of Motherhood is Ghetto, the self-care journal for mothers, what are you waiting for? Quite literally, what are you waiting for? It is available right now on Amazon, and it will never be sold out. Amen. So you can always go to Amazon and you can order it, and there will always be a copy there for you. So just go on Amazon, type in Motherhood is Ghetto. My journal is the first journal that will pop up. It's black and white on the cover. It's got my name as the author. Amen. Amen. So do yourself a favor, pour a little bit into yourself, take some time for you. And this journal also too is perfect for people who are starting to get into journaling, like beginner journalers, if that's a thing. So it's very, you can use it however you want to. There's space for you to do free writing. There's some motivational like mom affirmations to kind of get your spirits going, uplift your spirits, all that good stuff. But you could basically use it as a tool however you need to, in order to kick off or continue with your self-care journey as a mom. So do yourself a favor today. go on and get that journal. Amen. All right. And I appreciate everyone who's already ordered their copy. I'm actually quite excited because I published the journal in July. So my first royalty check for all the sales that I made in July, I am being paid at the end of this month for, amen. So it's like 2 months have to go by before you get your payment, but now it'll be consecutive. But when you first start, you have to wait 2 months for your first payout. So like next month is October, so I'll get paid my royalties of the sales I made in August. So I'm kind of excited about that. And at first I was a little bit nervous to share that, but I was like, you know what? Like that makes me super happy, and it makes me happy that people believe in me, enough to even purchase my journal. Like I've never done anything like this before. Like I've never created a self-care journal, and for folks to really like purchase it or reach out to me and tell me they purchased it and gave it as gifts, to other moms, like that really moves me, and it motivates me to keep doing what I'm doing for you guys today. So many, many thanks to you all. Um yeah. So topic today is fear. So before we get into the meat and potatoes of the episode, I just want to kind of give you guys some examples of what I've kind of been dealing with, like as far as fear and stuff like that. Um, so just to give you guys one example, you know how like with our parents, like maybe when we were younger, like our parents would tell us not to do something because they never did it, or their mom said that you shouldn't do that because this, that, and the third will happen. So now I'm telling you, pretty much like our parents projecting their fears onto us and scaring us to the point where we don't do it because they have a fear of it, and it was because their parents had a fear of it and their parents had a fear of it, and it just kind of goes down the generational line. um so I feel like for me, when I was growing up, I don't feel like my parents ever projected any fears on us, like fears that they had. I always remember my parents like just kind of telling us that we can do whatever we want, as far as like when we grow up, like what we want to be as human beings and people when we grow up. So you can do whatever you want, you can whatever it is want to achieve in life, you could put your mind to it. You don't have to be scared, like so I feel like growing up, at least none that I can remember, I don't remember my parents, kind of projecting their fears onto me and my siblings. Um, but the other day I was really thinking about it because I absolutely don't want to project my fears onto my children, but I feel like there's certain situations like where like I almost slip up, or like I feel myself projecting my fears onto my kids. So I just want to talk about that really quick. It kind of like kicked off because one of my coworkers asked me if my kids knew how to swim, and I said no. And she was like, "Girl, get your kids some swimming lessons. Like they need to learn how to swim." And she was telling me some statistics about the rate of black children who die by drowning because they don't know how to swim and their parents don't know how to swim, and this, that, and the third. And I was explaining to her that I can't remember exactly what it's called, whatever phobia it is, but I do have a phobia of drowning, of dying by drowning. And so I don't really fuck with pools. I never really did growing up. I would go like to, go to places like where there was pools and get in the pool, but I knew I couldn't swim, so I wasn't trying to go in the deepest part. Like I needed to be able to stand up in the water. And also too, like, when we go to the beach, like I don't go too far out in the ocean. Like I get enough so I can get my toes wet. And that's about it, because I don't want to ever put myself in a situation where I might drown. So, But also too, I think with that, and my coworker kind of made me realize the fact that I don't know how to swim, you know, is a reason why like I haven't even, really put forth any effort of trying to get my kids swimming lessons, because in the back of my mind it's like, well, I can't swim and I'm not ever going to suggest we go anywhere where, the kids, it's in their best interest that they know how to swim. Like, I just don't do that. And then in most of the cases where my kids did go swimming or they went to a pool or something like that, their dad was there and their dad knew how to swim. So I felt comfortable, with them being in a pool or, being in the ocean, like with their dad and stuff like that. Like, I felt comfortable. But now I don't feel comfortable because I don't know how to swim. And if I take my kids somewhere and they end up drowning, like, I can't save them. I mean, I would definitely try, but we would all probably die in the process. Like, if there's no one else there. But it made me realize that maybe I've been projecting my fear of drowning onto them and maybe waited a little longer than I should have, getting them swimming lessons and stuff like that. And I don't want that to be something that holds them back at any point in their life. Like if, their friends do, want to go to a water park or they want to, go, swimming, they want to have, swimming party at their friend's house and everyone knows how to swim but my kids, and they feel left out, or I don't want that for them. And so I was like, you know what? Like I'm gonna, get my kids some swimming lessons because I do want them to know how to swim and I do want them to be able to save themselves, like if they're ever in a situation where, they're in trouble and water is involved. Like I do want them to be able to save themselves. And it just kind of made me realize how, without me even knowing, I was kind of projecting my fear, of drowning onto them, and they ain't scared. They consistently ask me to go to water parks and stuff like that, knowing that they can't swim. But they want to go. And I'm always like, no, like, why are you guys asking me? Y'all don't even know how to swim. But they're determined, and I would say, even though like I unknowingly have been projecting my fears onto them, they're not phased by it. They're like, you can be scared of water all you want to, girl. We ain't scared. So, but that's just one example of kind of like a realization that I had this week. And then also too, over the weekend, my son, well, so my daughter had asked me if she could spend the night at one of her friend's house. And then my son asked me if he could go over his friend's house, like not to spend the night or anything, but just go over his house. And y'all got to let me know, like, are we still doing sleepovers in 2023? Because there's just so much about the average household that has changed since we were children. Like I'm a child of the 80s. I was born in 1986, so I grew up in the 90s, and I did have sleepovers at my friend's house, like, but it was only one friend, and she was my best friend, and that's the only person's house, like, besides family, that I had ever spent the night at, and I would do it every year. Every year she would have a birthday party and have a slumber party with all the girls over, and that's what I would like. I would spend the night at her house, and my parents were cool with that, and our parents knew each other, and it was cool. But now, y'all, shit, people got like cameras in their house, like, what I'm saying, cameras in bedrooms. They got the freaking what do they call them? Like those little dots, like Alexa, Google dots, the speakers that are set up in rooms so you can hear what's going on, like all that stuff. And it just makes me a little bit nervous because I just don't know what's going on in people's houses. And especially now with technology and the way people are recording folks and all this stuff, and OnlyFans, like you just you just don't know like what situation or what you're sending your child into. Um, but also too, when my daughter asked me if she could spend the night at her friend's house, I felt it very important for me to explain to her why I was uncomfortable with that instead of just telling her, Like, no. And it's no because I said so. I don't ever want to be that type of parent, and I've never have been. It's not just because I said so. There's a reason, and I need you to know that reason, so that way you understand moving forward, like how I feel about it, since you're asking me. And it's not that I have a fear. And even with my son going over his friend's house and, him being inside of his friend's house and me not having visual sight on him, it's not about them going to their friend's house that scares me or makes me fearful. The fear that I have is that if something should happen, I won't be there to protect them. That's my true fear. Because I actually had to take a step back, and when they were asking me, because it was like they asked me back to back, and I was like, Joy, what are you afraid of? Like, what are you afraid of with your children going somewhere where you cannot see them visually? Like, where is the real fear coming in? And I believe that that's what it is. Like, I'm just afraid that I won't be able to protect them. But why am I afraid that anything will happen to them in the first place? Like, why do I have that fear? So that's going to bring us into this episode and the meat and the potatoes. So, things we do as moms out of fear and really getting to the root of that fear. Like, why are we scared of that? Why are we fearful of that? And one of the things that we've heard over and over, and really like how we live our lives, and we've heard our parents say it and our grandparents say it and their parents say it, is you hope for the best and plan for the worst. And the more that I think of that phrase and I say that phrase, it's like, why the fuck would I do that? Like, why would anyone want to just hope for the best and plan for the worst? Like, when me thinking of my children being at someone else's house and someone else being responsible for them while I'm not there and I can't see them, like, that's me, like, thinking the worst possible situation that could happen and just saying and just shutting it down and be like, well, nope, I'm just not gonna deal with that. Like, this is what could happen, so we're not gonna deal with it at all. But I don't think that's the correct way to approach these type of things. Because why in the hell would we plan for the worst, or why would we plan for the worst possible outcome? Why wouldn't we instead plan for the best? Like, and not to say that we won't ever think about, the what ifs or this could happen, but why would we plan for it? You know what I'm saying? Like, why would we plan for something horrible to happen to us or to our children or to you know what I'm saying? Like, why would we do that? And not saying that I'm not saying that it's a bad thing to plan. I'm not saying that at all. But when it comes to your fears and how it relates to how you raise your children, what you let your children do and what you don't let your children do, I think that always thinking the worst is going to happen is really not, like, that's no way to live, in my opinion. And I don't think that's any way for a child to live. And a child to be, have to tell her friends, like, no, I can't sleep over your house because my mom is scared that something's going to happen to me. So I can't spend the night at your house. And I know, mamas, I know yesterday's sleepovers are not today's sleepovers. Like, I get it. Like, I completely understand. But like I said, I think it's even more important for us as mothers to get to the root of where our fear is coming from and be able to articulate that to our children and let them know, like, because if it's really something you don't want them to do, you're a mom. So whatever you say, that's what it is. Like, that's law. Okay. um but to be able to explain it to them and articulate it to them in a way that they will understand and know, like, okay, I understand where your fear is at. you know, and and convey it in a way to them that so they understand that, your reasoning for it is valid, and getting their input on it and stuff like that. And not saying they'll all agree and be like, okay, mom, I see it your way, but I think it's important just to have that dialogue with the child because they're asking you. And like I said, I honestly don't believe in telling a child because I said so. Um I don't think that's an acceptable answer to any child's question, or if they want to do something you tell them no. I don't think that's acceptable. So I don't do that as a parent because I want my children to understand why I feel the way that I feel. Because that's what they're going to do with me. They're going to tell me why they feel the way they feel. And I'm open to that. So why wouldn't I reciprocate, the same practices? But going back to planning for, hoping for the best and planning for the worst. And like I had to ask myself, why wouldn't I just plan for the best? Why wouldn't I think of how a situation or things will turn out in the best case scenario? Why am I always thinking about the worst case scenario first and then going from there and weighing my options based off of the worst case scenario? Um, and then I had to ask myself, what would it be like if the best did happen? What would that look like? And not just like with my children, but with life in general. Like I've been having this battle with myself because my ultimate goal is to be a full-time entrepreneur. That is my ultimate goal. I want to run my head wrap business full time. I want to do podcasting full time. And I ultimately like have goals like to contribute in a larger way, to women, to mothers, to society, all that good stuff. Um, but fear holds me back. Like it really does. And I'm gonna be vulnerable and real with you guys. Like the amount of fear that I have for many things, like it's astronomical. Like like this podcast, starting this podcast, even starting, my business journey and all that stuff, all of that was scary to me. Being a single mom, being a widow, it's all scary to me. And sometimes my fears do get the best of me. And a lot of times, like, my fears, like, they win. Like, and it keeps me in the box that I'm currently in. And I'm not super duper proud to say that because the way that I think of myself, like, I think of myself as a queen, like, you know, a queen can do anything that she sets her mind to. And sometimes like I can't pull that queen out of me, or I can't pull her out of me far enough to, take the lead sometimes. And I do let my fears, dictate how I live my life and what I do and what I don't do. And I've decided like I don't want to live like that anymore, so I need to figure out what's driving my fear, and so that way I can face it and I can move forward with the things that I really want to do in life without any fear, So, um, I was listening to a podcast where a mother, she was talking about her fear of losing her daughter at a young age. And she's so fearful of it that she's very protective. She keeps the child very sheltered, because she's just got this fear of her daughter dying young, like while she's still a child. And she was saying how she's put so much focus and so much energy behind the thought of her child dying prematurely that she didn't even think or have a thought to plan for what if that didn't happen? what if my daughter grew up to be, an adult? Like, why am I not looking forward to that and planning for that? Why am I thinking about her, possibly, and we don't even know if it'll happen or not? This is just something like that she's afraid of happening, but she's put so much thought and energy behind it that it's made her parent a different way. It's made her, feel like she has to have all the things to guard and, shelter her child. And she thinks that that's going to help. But I mean, it may help, but at the same time, her fear drove her, to do all those things. And I feel like as moms, we got to stop letting fear drive us. We got to stop letting fear control our life. And I'm not saying like just go through life willy nilly, like without a care in the world. Do proceed with caution. Like, but at the same time, like fear shouldn't be running amok in our lives and making it hard for our children to grow and explore and be, who they are as children, and also with us too. Like as mothers, like we shouldn't be letting our fear, dictate the life that we truly want to live for ourselves, and being scared to go for our dreams or, start that podcast or start that cookbook or, start that YouTube channel. Like, what are you afraid of really? Let's get to the root of that. And then let's figure out how we can overcome that fear so that we can keep pressing on and we can keep moving. Um, I know, excuse me, I know one of the things that I'm also fearful of, well, I thought I was fearful of, I always had a fear of being a bad mom. And, and it's like, it's kind of like I didn't want to mess up anything because I didn't want, my children to grow up, being the type of person or doing the things in life that I wouldn't necessarily want for them. Like I don't want to be raising no Charles Manson's, no Menendez brothers. Like I want to make sure like I do everything perfect and I'm not a bad mom, and I'm thinking that like, man, if I don't do it like this, or if I don't do it how my mom did it, like I'm a bad mom. Like like my kids are just gonna grow up to be menaces to society, and it's gonna be horrible. But when I really sat down and thought about, okay, it's I'm not really scared of being a bad mom. My fear comes in because I have a fear of not being perfect. I think if I'm not perfect, then I'm a bad mom. And that's the furthest from the truth. And just having and getting to the root of that and figuring out like I'm not afraid of being a bad mom. I'm afraid of not being perfect. Like that's where my fear stemmed from, and the whole reason why I even started this podcast is because of the fact that no mother is perfect. Like there's nothing that we can do that is 100% perfect. Like we will fail sometimes. We will have setbacks. Our children will hate us sometimes. Then they may love us sometimes. Like nothing is ever going to be perfect, but as long as you do what you can with what you have to do it with, the resources that you have, and you do it how you do it, like, there's no way like you can fail at this. There's no way you can fail at motherhood. And I remind myself of that daily because I am, raising my children now by myself. I have like I have an extra sense to be, with them 24/7 when they're not at school, or making sure like I got eyes on them all the time and stuff like that. Like I'm super overprotective now, and I wasn't really like that before, but now I am for good reason. But at the same time, I don't feel like I should just be in constant fear that something is going to happen to my children if I take my eyes off of them. I will definitely be cautious, and I'll definitely take the proper precautions. Like I'll meet the parents. Like I'll go to their house. I'll look around. Like I'll see what's up. You know what I'm saying? Like I'll do all that stuff because as a mother, I feel like that's what I should do. I have to make sure that my children are gonna, whatever environment they're gonna be in, is it's on the up and up and it's copacetic. Now, once I leave there, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can't be living in constant fear that, now they're conducting experiments on my child and I'm not there to save them, So, but not saying that you shouldn't be fearful or you shouldn't have fears. All I'm saying is that, I think it's worth taking some time to get to the root of that fear, and really figuring out, okay, what am I truly afraid of? And what what would I do in the best case scenario? What would happen in the best case scenario? Let me not think about the worst case, but what would happen in the best case scenario? And then once you figure out what you're actually afraid of, okay, what can I do, to set up some precautions and some safeguards? Like, what can I do? What is everything that I can do to make sure, that my children are as safe as they can be? You know, we're doing like, I'm saying like what can I do? And I think that we won't know that for sure until we just get to the root of what we're truly in fear of. And like I said, for me, like I said, like I got a lot of fears. I'm afraid to die by drowning. I'm also afraid to die, before my children are adults. Like I'm super afraid of that. Um, but then again, that's another thing. I had to sit down and say, Joy, are you afraid of dying young, or are you afraid that your children will have to relive a trauma of losing their parent at a young age again? That's what I'm truly afraid of. I'm truly afraid that my children would have to relive losing a parent, before they reach adulthood. And I hate that feeling and I hate that I'm fearful of that, but that's just my truth. Like I'm scared of that. But instead of and I'll tell you guys too, like I was so scared of it. Like I'm over here like, planning for my funeral, making sure like my kids don't have to pay for anything when my time comes. Amen. Like I got so immersed in like, okay, I need to do this, I need to do that, like I need to set up beneficiaries here, and I got so swept up in it, you guys, and I wasn't even thinking like, well, what if my children live to be adults? Like I'm setting up all these precautions and beneficiaries and stuff like that. What would happen if they if I didn't die while they were still children? Like why am I planning so much for the worst to happen? Not saying that all those things that I did weren't a good idea, but it's like I was like rushing like I didn't have time, like I was going to die the next day. And it was crazy. Like once I stopped myself and I'm like, Joy, you're going overboard. Like just relax, like because that's only the worst case scenario, but you're not even thinking about the best case scenario. Like, and looking forward to that, like looking forward to the kids graduating school and going off to college or getting married, grandchildren, like you're not even looking like none of that stuff even crossed my mind. I'm just thinking of the worst possible scenario and letting it drive my actions and have me going crazy about life insurance and prepaying for funerals and all this crazy stuff. And I'm like, what am I doing right now? Like I'm just acting off of my fear right now. And not just and I'm not saying like that is still something that scares me. Like it does, but I don't want it to run my life. I'm not going to stay in the house forever, because I have a fear of, my children being without me while they're still children. I can't live like that. Like, I'll drive myself crazy. Like, I'll drive myself mad, and that's something that I don't want to do. But slowly but surely, like, I'm assessing each of my fears one by one, and I'm learning to cope with them, deal with them, possibly conquer them. I'm hoping to conquer one fear of mine very, very soon, and I'll let you guys know what that is once I conquer it. But um, yeah, it's just, and I, like I said, just all week, like I've just been getting confirmation after confirmation, like how, you know, fear shouldn't stop us from living the life that we want to live. It shouldn't stop us from doing the things that we want to do, raising our children how we would like to raise them, like all the things. Like, fear plays a large part in people's lives and how they operate on a day to day basis. And I made a decision that I don't want to operate off of fear. I don't want to live my life based on my fears. I want to face them, and I want to get to the root of why I'm fearful of it, so that way I can work on conquering it. Or at least if I can't conquering it, being okay that, or accepting that I have this fear, but planning for the best case scenario and not too much focusing on what would happen if this fear came to fruition. Whew. I feel like that was a word. um, but yeah, so if you yourself are struggling with fears, or, fears are holding you back, just, I mean, y'all already know, like I pray about everything. So if God is your bag, spirituality is your bag, like, pray, and look for answers within, and just know that you in your life are bigger than your fears, and whatever you want and whatever you're seeking in life is on the other side of those fears. And I promise you, once you get over that hill and you get to the other side of your fears, it's going to be beautiful. And you're going to feel so proud and so amazed at yourself that, and you're just going to be like, I don't even know what I was afraid of. Why was I afraid in the first place? So, and that's at the point where I'm at in my life now. Like, right now I'm going up the hill. I'm not quite over it yet. But once I get to the other side of my fears, ain't nobody gonna be able to tell me shit. Okay? Ain't nobody gonna be able to tell me a damn thing. And I can't wait for that day. Like, I can't wait. Like, that's what I look forward to. Like, when I face my fears head up, and it's like they can't control me or my life anymore. Like, that's the day. Like, that'll be the day. I can just envision it. Like that's who it's just so vivid in my mind. Like, I can almost just reach out and touch it. But that concludes today's episode. So if you enjoyed it, please don't forget to like the podcast, share it with anyone you may think might find it useful. If you're not following my podcast, go ahead and hit that follow button on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts at. And also too, if you're not already, don't forget to follow me on Instagram at motherhood_is ghetto, so you can keep up with me, keep up with my children, get a little bit of entertainment here and there, stuff like that, and just be a part of the motherhood is ghetto community. Like, all are welcome. Like, come on in. Like, we got enough ghetto to spread around. And then also too, if you have any topics or anything you'd like me to discuss on the podcast, you want to share any stories with me, anything like that, my DMs are open, so you can DM me anytime. I'm here for you. Whatever you need, I got you. So again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. And until next time, mamas. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. Don't forget to follow the podcast and share with anyone who you think may enjoy it. and follow me on Instagram at motherhood_ghetto. Also, feel free to DM me if you have any experiences, opinions, or views on motherhood you'd like me to share on the podcast. Until next time, mamas.